if we just revive all the spiritual and religious and cultural sites of our country, we can wipe out poverty. There are extremists and people in all parts of the society, in all sections of the society, who take things and blow it up and vandalize and take violence into their hands. Britishers were ruling for nearly 200 years in our country, 200 plus years. They were making laws which were convenient for them, not thinking about our welfare. The Brahmanas are like the brain, like the head. The Kshatriyas are like the bahu, the shoulder, the arms. The Vaishyas are like the belly. The Shudras are like the feet, legs. That cutting-edge physics being discussed by the most brilliant physicist in the world, he is asking the question, why the universe exists? Why we exist? This is the core of Vedanta philosophy. Arjuna knows now what is my duty. I am clear, it's clear. Nashta moha smrutirlapva karishye vachanam tava. Now I'll do what you say, Krishna. All my moha is gone. Whoever is born as a human being in India, he should perfect his life and help everyone else in the world to perfect their life.
नमस्ते, हरे कृष्णा, जय श्री राम भाइयों। आज मैं बैठा हूं वृंदावन में, जहां विश्व का सबसे ऊंचा मंदिर बन रहा है, और आज हम बात करेंगे उन्हीं के प्रेसिडेंट श्री चंचलापति दासा जी के साथ, जो कि ग्लोबल हरे कृष्णा मूवमेंट के वाइस चेयरमैन भी है। तो आज के कॉन्वर्सेशन में हमने बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग बातें की हैं, जैसे कि बांग्लादेश में जो इस्कॉन के ऊपर अटैक हुए उसके बाद क्या एक्शन लिया गया, हमारी स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में हमें अपने फिजिकल फॉर्म और स्पिरिचुअल फॉर्म दोनों को लेकर कैसे साथ में चलना है, इस मंदिर का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है और इन जनरल मंदिरों का क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है भारत के लिए, और क्या भारत आगे जाके विश्व गुरु बनेगा तो किस आधार पे बन सकता है। सो ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशन हुई है, इसे पूरा एंड तक देखिए। हालांकि ये कॉन्वर्सेशन हमारी बाकी वीडियोस की तरह नहीं, ये इंग्लिश में होगी बिकॉज आवर गेस्ट इज कंफर्टेबल इन इंग्लिश। सो अगर आप अंग्रेजी समझते हैं then please watch this video, it is going to be a banger. Hare Krishna Prabhu ji.
Namaste, Hare Krishna.
So I wanted to explore both spiritual themes and social themes, so it was suggested that you would be the best person to answer all my questions.
I'm not too sure, but I'll make an attempt.
Sure. So given the current situations, like a lot of things are happening in Bangladesh, the ISKCON temples have been destroyed there, and here in Vrindavan you're building the most magnificent ISKCON temples, which is not short of a monument. Other than that, you're the vice chairman of the global Hare Krishna movement. You're the president of Vrindavan Chandrodaya Mandir. You're the vice chairman of Kshatriyata. So there must be hundreds of things going on for you every day. So my first question is, how are you, Prabhuji?
By Lord's mercy, I'm quite okay and doing different things, and it's just the mercy of the Lord.
Excellent. So I wanted to first talk about what happened in Bangladesh. Now, that land is the land of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from where the global Bhakti movement started. And when we see such a thing happening, it's really heartbreaking. So I wanted to understand what happened after these attacks happened. Given that ISKCON is such an influential organization, you have connections with the government. What steps did you or your team take to ensure the safety of people or your temples, or to ensure that it doesn't happen again? What was the course of action there?
You see, we can do certain things, but nationally, politically, how things are, we have to wait and see. So let's maintain our calm and for things to come back to normalcy. And so I think that's all. Some things happened, and there are extremists and people in all parts of the society, in all sections of the society, who take things and blow it up and vandalize and take violence into their hands.
A lot of people do not understand the importance of temples also. For example, I was reading a book by Sandeep Singh ji, who has written a book on temple economics.
Okay.
And he has explored how temple used to be the central point of economy, of culture, and all forms of art that we see today. The dance, even the saris that we see are a product of temples. So it's wonderful that how the Indian economy worked back then when we were almost 33% of the world's GDP. Now, I want to understand that now this temple that we are building right now, how do you see it impacting the local economy, and what other impact can it have on our culture, given the current situation where we're not a temple-focused Arthavastha anymore? But how will this contribute to Vrindavan and people?
We would think our temple here in Vrindavan, which is of monumental proportions, and all the aspirations that we have, and a sample of which we have created now, by Lord's mercy, will have multi-dimensional impact. It will have economic, socio-economic impact. It will bring culture, heritage into focus, create employment, invigorate the local economy. Doing all of this at the core is to foster and culture spirituality in the hearts of people and to make people happy. You know, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of our society, ISKCON, Hare Krishna movement around the world, he said, my mission is to make people happy through Krishna consciousness. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. That is the spirit of our culture, of our ancient wisdom. We want to make everyone happy, but people don't know how to become happy. They are thinking pursuit of sense gratification, pursuit of economic goals with greed and passion and envy. That will not make people happy. It will create more social problems. And so we want to, it was Srila Prabhupada's mission that we must bring the spirituality, which is the core of Indian culture and heritage, back to people so that they will be enriched, enlightened, and be happy with this kind of a spiritual awareness.
Excellent.
So you are talking about Arthavyavastha. It may be so. You know, I was talking to one economist some weeks ago. He was saying countries like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries, whose economy was 95% oil, right? Now they have realized that we shouldn't be like that. They have a plan in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to bring down their dependency on oil for their GDP to about 50%. And they want the other 50% to be tourism and even religious tourism, where some of those holy sites for the Muslim religion exist. So it is a fact that there is a great opportunity in our country by reviving and upgrading all of the religious sites that we have in our country. And, there may be places like Gurugram, Bangalore, Hyderabad, with IT companies, and Mumbai creating money. People will become rich. But in our country, people are religious. People are spiritually inclined. And if we create nice places, they will come travel all over. They will get a good spiritual experience because of the holy sites, because of the spiritual significance those sites have. And you need hotels there, you need taxis there, you need cooks there, you need housekeeping. Actually, if you allow me to say, if we just revive all the spiritual and religious and cultural sites of our country, we can wipe out poverty.
Wow.
Because, poverty exists not because there is not enough money. Our country, our government has a lot of money. That's the paradox. We are a rich country with a lot of poor people. This is happening because of inequitable distribution of the wealth. So some people are having too much wealth, some people are having too less wealth. So it's the lack of distribution, and an activity like this will create, people will travel, people who have money will travel around and spend money, and it's the spiritual and religious motivation. So we can leverage that and wipe out poverty in our country. So there is a huge potential. You said, yes, Artha Vyavastha can again come back with spirituality in the focus, in the center, with temples, monuments. Like for instance, Ramayana, from Ayodhya all the way up to Rameshwaram and beyond to Sri Lanka. And then Sita Devi coming from Janakpuri. So whole country, people will want to visit the Ramayana circuit.
Absolutely.
Similarly, Mahabharata and many other examples. Our country is dotted with such religious and spiritually important places. And we must just take advantage of it and put poverty behind us.
Absolutely. There are a lot of people, even within our country, who maybe they understand the economic benefit of temples. They may not understand the spiritual benefits of the temples, and because of their ideologies, they are consistently posing a threat for us to work on reviving this culture back again, which also has happened recently because of the loss of Kshatriyata within the Hindu community. Now, ISKCON being the biggest propagator of Krishna's teachings, Kshatriyata is also a very important aspect that Krishna taught us. I want to understand, when we are building this temple, it has definitely will be promoting art and culture, as you mentioned. But are we also going to try and infuse this spirit of Kshatriyata, maybe through an ecosystem where people can learn self-defense? Because what we see in Bangladesh can also be repeated here if we let the grip loose. So how does ISKCON think of also promoting Kshatriyata? Because that is one of the most important aspects that we need right now, the fight against injustice.
You see, in the Vedic literatures, it talks about, you are telling about Kshatriyata. It talks about the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Shudra.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Now, of course, you have a perspective, you are making a point about the relevance, especially now, of Kshatriyata. Interestingly, the Vedas compare this to our human body.
Okay.
The Brahmanas are like the brain,
Right.
the head. The Kshatriyas are like the bahu, the shoulder, the arms. The Vaishyas are like the belly. They are the wealth creators in the nation, and they infuse economic benefit which can reach everywhere, like the stomach digests food and infuses energy to the whole body. And the Shudras are like the feet, legs. Now, one should not mistake this. Sometimes, you say Brahmanas are here and the Shudras are down there. And you see, suppose your leg is not functioning properly. You will say, my leg, it does not matter. No, you will rush to the doctor, whether it's leg, even if it's your toe which is hurting. What has to be done, you will. So the entire body has to be taken care. And then we can do productive things. So in the same way, all of these elements are essential in the society. And hence, we must look at welfare and bringing that understanding and that role to all of these different sections of the society. What we are trying to do in Vrindavan Chandrodaya Mandir, one of the things that we have, which is of our great concern for us, is the youth of our country. It's important the young people of our country understand this message, understand the message of our Vedic culture, and appreciate it, practice it, internalize it, enrich themselves. That's the best way of preservation and preservation of our culture. If you have audience of younger generation who are appreciating it, they are benefiting it, they will ensure that it is passed on to the next generation as well. A lot of people say, oh, India has a huge population and that's the problem. And we don't see it that way. Population is not a problem. We have to inspire and instill the right values so that they will be contributing to the society wherever they are in the world.
Understood.
So this has been our aspiration and vision.
Okay, but I disagree a little bit.
Please.
Because so we are working with this organization called Brihat. You might be aware of them. They are working on cultural policy to induce culture back into our policies, in our education system, in our constitution, maybe, if possible. So I've learned from them, they're very, very experienced people. I've learned from these three terminologies called Swayambodh, Kshatrubodh, and Saundaryabodh. Swayambodh is knowledge about yourself, about your identity. Kshatrubodh is the one, are the forces of the society which are trying to destroy this ecosystem of spiritual growth. And then Saundaryabodh, I'm assuming, is what ISKCON is doing. You're introducing us to the beauty of Krishna, beauty of this culture. So I feel that we are much focused on Saundaryabodh, but we haven't developed the Kshatrubodh.
Okay.
And we haven't developed this will to fight against injustice. And I say this because a lot of my friends, they have even stopped listening to the news. It is because they get so agitated with the turmoil that's happening out there. We are at the brink of world war. I hope it doesn't happen. But they're not able to take it objectively, and they're not able to manage their emotions based on that. So because we are in such a grave situation, we must develop this objective thinking and knowing when to raise your voice, when to fight. So I really hope that we can also work on this system in the future.
Very well said. You see, I'll tell you. I'll just add to what you are saying. What you're saying, I fully agree with you. Okay. Now, actually, there are 4 kinds of people. Okay. That's what our Shastras teach. Okay. There are 4 colors of hues or of people. Some of them are intellectual, philosophical, seeking, etc. Some of them are good administrators. Some of them are very good in wealth creation. And some of them are simple people. They don't have any of these 3, but they are very good and they work. This is the Chaturvarna. It is the nature. It is not by birth. And all of them should have spiritual understanding. Okay. If they don't have the spiritual understanding, of course the Brahmanas are supposed to be culturing this and not keep it for themselves. They are supposed to ensure that this knowledge permeates the whole society. These are all the wrong things that have happened in our country for various reasons. But I'm talking about the pure original intent in the Vedic culture. Okay? So you said there are some people who are boiling when they hear the news. And see, yes, it is right. But even they should not take to wrong means.
Absolutely.
It is not going to help. It will not help culture. It will not help anybody in the society if such things happen. So even they need a spiritual understanding so that force of fighting force they are feeling is tempered with knowledge and wisdom so that force is channeled in the right way. Same way that kind of a feeling that I must make money, I must create more and more money. Even that requires spiritual wisdom. Otherwise, they'll make all for themselves. They won't even pay taxes. How will we have good roads? How will we have good transport? How will we have healthcare if people don't pay taxes? So, all sections of the society require spiritual infusion. We cannot deny that.
Understood.
Without spiritual infusion, it will simply increase kama, lobha, jealousy, all these kind of things, which are actually the enemies of human society. So that is where we in ISKCON, that is where we will be working. Not that we will just keep it to ourselves. We want this knowledge to reach everyone in the society so that in their profession, they will do well. This is what Krishna did. Krishna was speaking to Arjuna, who was a Kshatriya, in the battlefield, ready to fight, but something had happened to him and he was holding back. Right? The army is all poised for a war. And now Krishna gave him Vedanta knowledge.
Wow.
Krishna didn't have to give him archery knowledge. He already knew it too well. How to use his Gandiva, how to use all the weapons, Astra, he knew very well. What he needed was spiritual infusion. And when he got that spiritual infusion, he saw the world. He saw the armies. Everything in a different way. He was infused with right energy to act rightly. That's what we want to contribute.
Wonderful.
To society.
I also wanted to understand whether there are many spiritual organizations. I've worked for a while with Chinmay Mission. I used to listen to Sadhguru, Isha Foundation. They also have a huge impact on society.
Yeah.
There's Art of Living. There's Ramakrishna Mission. So I wanted to understand, on the surface it seems, when we hear to people, that there's conflict within the sampradayas. There's conflict.
Okay.
But I wanted to understand what is there a conflict within? Are these organizations, do they also collaborate and work sometimes? And is there a scope for collaboration in the future to, again, help the youth, to help the society in many different ways?
Yeah. This is part of our Vedic culture. There are different doctrines, different perspectives about understanding. But we should not be threatened by this diverse vision. We don't have to be. There are different sampradayas, and these sampradayas have their own doctrines, vada, their arguments, and the way they see the Vedic literatures. It's all right. There is a place for all that. Why Vyasadeva, why the Lord has created this? There are different levels. There are different kinds of people. There are different natures of people. There are different levels of evolution. So there is a need. There is need for primary textbooks of mathematics. There is high school textbook of mathematics, college mathematics, postgraduate mathematics, advanced mathematics. All of them are important because there are children in the society who need primary education in mathematics. So in the same way, the Vedic knowledge has all of these different varieties of viewpoints to accommodate. And different sampradayas, it is expected that they will be loyal and have their integrity to their position, their sampradaya, and they can develop it, they can articulate it. And you talked about differences, but those differences are not meant to result in conflicts. Mm-hmm. It is meant to result in a debate and a discourse so that there is an intellectual rigor into the whole thing, so that our understanding becomes more solid, not sentimental. Mm-hmm. It's profound philosophy. So while we do all of those things, we can also always identify there is a commonality. We all have one origin. The tree may be very vast, but the roots are the same. It's all coming from the Vedas. It's all coming from the great rishis of our country who have developed all these knowledge systems. So, while being very loyal and fiercely loyal and being absorbed in our theology and our vada, our doctrine, our argument, our sampradaya, we can also coexist. That is very essential and it is not impossible. So there is in fact, we have also been participating in some forums with all the different organizations that you were mentioning, okay, where we all come together. We understand that we have our own theology. We have our own differences. But there is, in one forum we may talk about difference, but in another forum we also talk about our commonality. Because both exist. If you don't see everything clearly, we will fight. We must see things clearly. Yes, there is difference and there is oneness also. When you see it clearly, then you know how to handle the difference. You also know how to handle the commonality. This wisdom and maturity is essential. And historically in our country, at all points of time, this has been there. And people at different times have maintained that maturity and that kind of a wisdom and understanding. And all had coexisted. And all of them had thrived. This is the beauty of our culture. Right. So we are not threatened by diversity. We are not threatened by differences. We see it's our richness.
Wonderful. I have a question about identity, the Hindu identity. Okay. As you also mentioned, we have seen this rise of pride in Hindu identity very recently, in the past few years. But Sanatana Dharma, in my understanding, it is meant to, or it encourages us to transcend all identities. Is that true? And if it's true, then how do we strike a balance here? Because on one hand, we need this Hindu identity to revive, to come out of this cultural subversion that we faced. On the other hand, we need to rise above it as well. So how does this work?
You see, it's not difficult to understand. This is part of Sanatana Dharma and the knowledge that is given in the Vedic literatures. We have to understand the world in which we live. We have to clearly recognize two levels of existence. One is the Vyavaharic level. Another is the Adhyatmic level, Paramarthik level. Now, we are spiritualists, right? There have been many spiritualists in our country. But every few hours, we also have to drink water. We also have to eat food. We also need some decent clothing. We need a decent place to live. May not be very rich or opulent, but basic, clean environment. These are Vyavaharic requirements. Although we are deeply involved in Adhyatmic development, our focus is on that. So in other words, when we are in this world, we have to recognize there is one layer of material existence and there is another layer of spiritual existence. That's what we are. We have a body which is material and we are a spirit inside. Deha and Dehinaha. Dehi. There is a body and there is a driver in the body. Just like there's a car and there's a driver in the car. Because the car is there and the car is moving. If the driver abandons the car, the car will be a junk. It will not be useful. So there has to be efforts and activities to enrich and be educated and be enlightened about our spiritual reality. And there should be knowledge systems and activities to enrich our understanding and our activities at the material level. Both have to coexist. Today in the modern world, what is happening? We are forgetting the spiritual reality and an overemphasis of the material reality. When that happens, there will just be, how I should do the best, I should do there may be some morality, some ethics somewhere, but at the end of the day, it's how much I can do better than you, and I put you down in every possible way, and I should thrive. This comes about when there is only material education, material understanding, appreciation of material reality, appreciation of only material growth. Our Vedic culture is to talk about both. There is a spiritual growth and the material growth. When both of them are going hand in hand, then there will be a proper development of the personality and the person's thinking. Now, when we do that, we will know when you are talking about transcending identities. Yes, the spiritual culture is about transcending identities. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are from the Sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he develops the concept of bhakti, he says, what is bhakti? Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. He defines bhakti as being free from identities and designations. You see, the thing is, I was telling you there is a spirit soul inside. The spirit soul today is in a material body. And I am here. I'm a man. I'm Indian. I'm so many years old. You see, this is the identity I am carrying. And this identity is coming from the body. Because this body was born in India. This body was born as a male, not female. And this body was born so many years back, and so it is so many years old. I'm describing my body. I'm describing my identity in terms of the body. In my previous life, I had another body. And I had a set of identities. Where did that identity go? It's all gone. I don't even remember that. What we were in our previous life. In the same way, after some time, I will relinquish this set of identities, and the soul will move to another situation and develop a new set of identities. So what is the real identity of the soul? That is the search at the spiritual level. That is why the Shastras say, Sarva upadi vinirmuktam. It's like saying, suppose you are an actor, and I call you, hey, you're a very good actor. Please, I have a role for you in this cinema. In this cinema, you're going to be a king, okay? And you will say, yes. You'll read the script, you'll understand, and then we'll give you all the costume, and then we'll put you in a palace, and you will deliver your dialogue as a king. Right? Next movie. I have another movie now. You're a poor man in this movie. Okay? And you have to play that role. And you're an actor. You'll take on that role. So in one movie, you're a king. In another movie, you're a poor man. In another movie, you're something else. Who are you? That is the quest of the Vedic culture. We take on different identities. But who are we internally? That is the Swarupa of the Jiva. That is the Sanatana Dharma of the Jiva. Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means nature. Okay. It is the inalienable quality of something. The dharma of sugar is to be sweet. The dharma of salt is to be salty. The dharma of chili is to be spicy. Dharma of water is to be liquid. It is an inalienable quality. The Vedic literatures are searching what is the inalienable quality of the soul while we take on different identities in different lives. Although this is there at the spiritual level, at the material level, it's a reality that I am a man, I'm not a woman, I'm so many years old, that's also reality. I'm Indian, that's a reality. So I must recognize both aspects of reality. And I must act in terms of both realities in a harmonious way. At the same time, I must understand the spiritual reality is eternal. Whereas the material reality is a temporary feature that I have taken in this life. Like you played the role of a king for that film. Suppose your father and mother come back and talk to you and you are still delivering king dialogue. "Eh, beta, kya ho gaya?" Your mother will ask you.
So you're suggesting that...
So we must learn how to toggle between the two realities. So when we have this understanding, even though our identities exist, we have to transcend these identities. We can find, when there is a purpose for this, we can find a way how we can all live together, come together also. So all this requires a more mature, a more serious understanding, education. Then we will know how to toggle and navigate through all these different situations.
Excellent. So I have multiple questions related to this about maintaining this harmonious balance.
Yeah, please.
When to play which identity,
Yeah.
which role.
Yeah.
So first is about money. So there are two perspectives out there, many perspectives actually, but I would talk about two. One is this billionaire Elon Musk.
Okay.
And he talks about work, and he works relentlessly for 80 to 100 hours a week at least. He manages multiple startups. Okay. Very smart guy. He suggests that it's his way of working. And then there's another guy, also a billionaire of Indian origin, Naval Ravikant. Now he suggests another way of working. It's like a lion, that you do not keep struggling, but come out of your den when you need food, hunt for your prey, go back and rest. Work less, have more impact. So there are two different perspectives of how to create more impact.
Okay.
Now I want to understand from you about what's your routine like and how do you work? How do you balance your sadhana and manage so many things at the same time? And especially because now when you're building this temple, it requires so much funds. It requires coordinating with so many people and having a high quality output that usually ISKCON temples have. So how do you manage all this?
Okay, I'll answer in two ways. Okay, the first thing is, in ISKCON, our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, he has given a certain direction. An Acharya is somebody. Who is an Acharya? What is the special contribution of an Acharya? Acharyas are those who are very well versed in the Vedic understanding and the conclusions. They have realized knowledge. They have mature realized knowledge. Apart from all this, one very special thing that they do is they know how to apply this according to Desha Kala Patra, according to changing circumstances. Our Vedic culture is Bhagavad Gita. Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago. And if you take Ramayana, it was millions of years ago. So we are talking about a civilization which is survived all kinds of geopolitical changes over millions of years. And today we are having the same knowledge and we are able to talk about it. Look at the beauty. Mm-hmm. And remember, I'm just digressing. I'll come back to your question. I got a little excited on this point, what you have asked. Okay. Now you see, all this has been happening. This knowledge preservation and passing it down, it's been happening without technology, without IT, without memory devices, without computing devices. Isn't it? Yeah. How the knowledge has been preserved. I don't know if you have heard of one story. Not a story, it's a game called Chinese Whisper. It's a party game. Yes. Even there is a party going on, they will start party. Hey, I'll tell you one sentence, and then I'll tell you pass it on to another, and tell him to pass it on. And then in half an hour, 1 hour, it would have passed to about 50 people. Something. And then you get the 50th person and get the first person, and you see what the first sentence was and what has become to the 50th sentence.
It's totally different.
Person. Completely distorted. Right? This is the Chinese Whisper story game. So now, in a few hours, you see how that one sentence got distorted. But we are talking about a knowledge system and understanding which has not been distorted for millions of years.
Now that gives a better perspective.
Isn't it? This is the beauty of the preservation that is happening, and there is a way that it happens. So it's an amazing reality that how this knowledge system has been preserved in its pristine form and passed on generation after generation after generation, because acharyas who are well versed in the conclusion of this understanding find ways and means that are appropriate for the practice in different times and circumstances.
Understood.
That is a Desha Kala Patra. That is what acharyas do. So, Srila Prabhupada, our acharya of ISKCON, he was fully absorbed and involved and in this tradition of the spiritual knowledge. And he also had an understanding about the world because he traveled around the world. Of course, it was at a much later age. He saw the world and the world cultures, and he interacted closely. For 70 years he was in India. Only at the 70th year he went to America. So he knew India, he knew Indian society. He got to know about. Now, knowing all this, how this pure spiritual practice, spiritual development, spiritual enrichment, enlightenment can come about in a modern society, he devised a certain way of doing it. What Srila Prabhupada did was, he said, early in the morning, from Brahma Muhurta time, which is about an hour before sunrise, that's when we all come to the temple. Up to about 9 o'clock in the morning, from 4:30 to 9 a.m., we have a lot of spiritual activities. We have kirtan, we have japa, we have arti for the Lord, we have pravachan, we have discussions. All of this is spiritual activities. After 9 o'clock, we have our prasadam, breakfast, and then we go on with our activities. Then again in the night, at about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30, we come back. We have another spiritual activity for another half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. Okay. And then we go to sleep. So Prabhupada called this a sandwich program.
Okay.
There's a bread on the top, there's a bread at the bottom, there is a jam in between.
Wow.
So our activities that we do for building a temple, for creating an institution, for disseminating, for various activities that we do, that is during the day. It is topped at the bottom. In the morning hours, we have spiritual activity. At the end of the day, we have spiritual activities. In between, we have all these activities sandwiched. So this is the program that Srila Prabhupada gave, and that is what we follow. So we have a certain number of some hours dedicated for spiritual development every day. Prabhupada said we should do this 7 days a week. We don't have a holiday for this called sadhana. There's no holiday for sadhana. We don't need a holiday for sadhana. It's so enlightening, it's so enriching, it's so blissful. We don't look for a holiday.
And I see the impact on everybody we met here. Everyone's face is glowing. They're full of energy. So I was wondering how. And this is an
This is the spiritual. So this is the first part of it. So this is how Prabhupada has given our lifestyle. And that's how we are building temples. We are conducting, different activities. And at the same time, we also have a focus on our spiritual growth. There's another aspect to it. I'll tell you with a story. There was a man. He was a weightlifter.
Okay.
And so he had his house. And in one room, he had all these big different things for lifting weights. You have to lift weight and become strong. That's part of he would do that. So he had one small son. 4 years old. 3-4 years old.
Okay.
Small fellow, boy. So he would see peeping his father lifting all that. So one day when father, mother, nobody is there, he came into the room and he's a small child. What can he lift? He couldn't lift anything. He got a little disappointed. The mother was watching that. And then sometime father and mother, they talked to see our son, what he was doing. So father was also amused that the little fellow is trying to lift, he can't. So another day, again, this little boy came into the room and he is imitating the father. You know how children imitate the father. Now, then he started lifting, started going up, lifted 250 kilos. He's holding like this, it's up. His father was standing behind and lifting it.
Okay.
And so he thought, I lifted it. This is what happens in the life of all devotees.
Lord helps.
Lord is doing it. We are thinking, I have lifted 250 kilo like that small fellow. Nothing. Lord is doing. But it is actually, this is how the world is running. The world is running because of the Lord's involvement and control. Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This is Krishna saying, it's because of me the world is running. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. I am spread everywhere in the world in my unmanifest form. Hence you cannot see me. Sutre manigana iva. Just like you take a necklace, it has got different colored beads, gold bead, this bead, that bead, and then I wear it. It looks so good. The necklace looks so good. It has a pattern, it has design, because there's a thread that is holding it. You snap that thread, it will just become, it'll lose its symmetry, beauty, everything. Sutre manigana iva. Sutra means the thread. Krishna is the thread who is holding the whole thing. But we don't recognize it. It's our ego. So we start claiming, this is me, I did it. Shakespeare's pen should not claim too much credit for the works of Shakespeare.
And I guess people will only be able to understand this once they're involved in the spiritual sadhana.
Absolutely.
If we just tell it to them, they won't believe it.
It will not. It is just some kind of a knowledge. Oh, yes, God is doing. But in their values, in their behavior, in their character, they will be full of ego.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens. So, this understanding that, we are doing different things. Sometimes people ask us, in Akshay Patra, you're feeding 22 lakh children every day. Sometimes we have a marriage, we get 2,000 people coming and we sweat over it for many, many days. And then we say, 2,000 people came for our wedding for 2 days and everything is over. But here we are feeding 22 lakh children every day, last 25 years. And we are not sweating. Because Lord is doing, we do our little bit. Our duty we have to do. Right? We attend to all those things beautifully, knowing that the Lord is the one who is doing it.
Wonderful.
Right? You see. Tasman tvam mam anusmara yudhyacha. Sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmaram yudhyacha. This is what Krishna is teaching in the Bhagavad Gita. You must fight. You must do all your vyavaharik duty. Remember me and do it. Be conscious of me. Because without me, nothing can exist.
Right. You mentioned about how things change in different times, and the acharyas give us the information of how to understand and lead a life.
How to practice it. In changing circumstances.
So the same question comes for marriage. Now, today, a lot of us, a lot of youth are thinking of not getting married because, again, it is becoming unfeasible. There's so much lack of trust issues right now. People don't want to get married because they see a lot of divorces. Some certain laws are there that is not so feasible for men, especially. So, uh, isn't it that just because the times are changing, now this institution called marriage is not really working out for people very well right now. Now our parents would say, ki, how can you not get married? It's impossible. But again, isn't it that the times are changing and the marriage, maybe that institution is not so feasible right now? Earlier, in times of Sri Krishna, Sri Rama, they used to have, the kings used to have multiple wives. That doesn't happen anymore in our culture. So isn't just that the times are changing and we have to readjust, and maybe that marriage won't be a thing in the future like we have today? Isn't that we can adjust with, or is it there's a different perspective on that?
You see, we can keep trying out, come with ideas. Okay, no marriage. Just be together. And and then go, say goodbye, go on somewhere else. You see, all these ideas man manufactures because he does not know the purpose of life, the purpose of existence. The most important thing that the Vedic literatures provide is knowledge about purpose of existence. It is so important and so profound. I'll just give you an example. Stephen Hawking, a brilliant scientist who recently passed away, right? British. He was handicapped and
Yes.
confined to that. Supposed to be a very, very brilliant scientist. So he wrote a book, Brief History of Time. It's a small book, international bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have bought it. I don't think most people have read it. It's an international best sold book and least read book.
Okay.
Probably. So, in that book, he develops many scientific modern physics ideas. And the last chapter is called The Conclusion. He talks about something called the theory of everything. Scientists have been working on this theory of everything, although he coined the name theory of everything. It's a new name. Formerly, even when I was in college, I've heard about this. It was called the grand unification theory. Basically, scientists have identified 4 fundamental forces. And they have identified these 4 forces has led to the universe that we see. Okay. Now they are trying to find out if all of these 4 forces can be combined to one force, which led to the 4 forces, and the 4 forces led to the universe that we see. This is called the grand unification theory. Is it possible to unify these 4 forces and identify one source, one force from which the 4 forces came and from which the universe has come about and all of us have come about? So, because that identification and discovery of one force is going to explain all of the universe, Stephen Hawking called it this. He called the theory of everything. If we are able to find that theory, find that one force, then we can explain it. So on this point, he mentions in the last chapter of the book, if we are able to find the theory of everything, but that theory of everything must not be some complex mathematical thing that only a few scientists can understand, but it should be so simple and elegant that all people across the table can sit together and talk about it. Not just physicists. It should be so simple and elegant. That is, if we are able to do that, that will be the triumph of human intellect. For then we would have understood why we exist and why the universe exists. then we would have known the mind of God. 90% accurate, I'm saying.
Okay.
But here and there.
Okay.
So this is what Stephen Hawking says. Now, you see, this is cutting edge physics, what he's talking about. That cutting edge physics being discussed by the most brilliant physicist in the world, he is asking the question, why the universe exists? Why we exist? This is the core of Vedanta philosophy. To answer this question, why the universe exists, why we exist. It's not just to answer the question, but it proposes, the Vedic literatures propose a certain system and certain vidhana, certain process by which we can understand, appreciate, and have a realized understanding about it and act on that purpose. You see, human beings should have a purpose in life. A dog running around, a bird flying. What is it? It also has purpose. Its purpose is bare existence. Ahara nidra bhayamaitunamscha samanyametat pashubhinarana. Animals, birds, they are all seeking 4 things. Ahara, where I will get food. Nidra, where can I reside and sleep peacefully. Bhaya, there is predators are there, how I can be safe. And maituna, mating. This is the enquiry. This is what all animals are absorbed in from their birth to death. Now, human beings, because we also have a body, these 4 requirements are there. But apart from that, dharmo hi esho eko adhiko visheshaha. There is one extra thing, one special thing that human beings can do, and that is dharma, which enables us to understand who we are, why the world exists, and what is the purpose of this existence. And we must know that. That enquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa, higher enquiry. Our life should not be just Ahara enquiry, Ahara Jigyasa, Nidra Jigyasa, Bhaya Jigyasa, and Maituna Jigyasa. We should do Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa means enquire, seek, look after, quest.
Like a scientist.
Like a scientist.
But realizing it as well.
With realization. This requires the sharpest intellectual or that kind of a curiosity that is needed. Much more than what a scientist usually carries to be a spiritualist. To understand what is the purpose. Why does the world exist? Why do I exist? Why all this gravity? Why all this atmosphere? Why all the temperature? Why all the food coming? Water? Why all this?
So are you saying that I should not ask a question about marriage?
No, I'm coming to it. So now, knowing this is the purpose of our existence, how I can have my marriage, how I can have my education, how I can have my business, how I look after my family, everything should be governed by this underlying understanding. Not that we cannot have politics. We can have politics, we can have social work, we can have industry, we can have entertainment, we can have education, we can have all of the activities that are going on in the human society, but it should be infused with spiritual purpose. When that spiritual purpose is not there, we will think, hey, why marriage? It's all failing. Forget it. Leave it. Just leave it the relation. Just enjoy. Because we don't know the purpose of life. You know, when we wake up in the morning, that purpose of life should strike us, should energize us. Yes, I must achieve this. I must do it. That is the kind of a sublime, very powerful purpose the Vedic literature is present for all of humanity. When we are driven by that purpose, we will know how to act in this world rightly. That is what is lacking, and that's what Vedic culture provides. So when we have that understanding, we will know how to manage relationships, marriage, and how things should go on. When you don't have that understanding, you are only thinking my pleasure. I'm thinking my pleasure. Man is thinking my pleasure. Woman is thinking my pleasure. If their own individual pleasure becomes their purpose of their life, becomes the center stage of their life, there will be clashes. Invariably, there will be clashes, one kind or another. On the other hand, if they both agree there is one common purpose for us, even though there are some difficulties, differences, it's okay, it's all right, we know how to. See, this kind of a mature vision, mature understanding comes about in life. Both for a husband-wife relationship you are talking about, or between communities, or between states, or between countries.
Oh.
Like you are talking about marriage is a failed institution. You use such words. There are similar discourse going on in the world. Is United Nations a relevant organization at all? Because United Nations having so many flags and trying to unite, still wars are going on in the world since the time United Nations was formed. So we don't have to disrupt, we don't have to dismantle United Nations, we don't have to dismantle marriage. We have to infuse with the spiritual perspective that is provided in our Vedic literature. Then we will be able to find a new kind of a energy and a glue to keep us all together with a higher purpose. Right now, my purpose is my enjoyment. You are trying for your enjoyment. I am trying for my enjoyment. Whether it's a man and woman or a country and a country. And when my enjoyment and your enjoyment becomes the center state, we will fight with each other. And I'll think it is my national interest. You will think it is your national interest. Now when we have a universal interest, I will also think universal interest. You will also think in the universal interest. Because we all Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
That is why we have such a strong belief that Bharat is going to have such an important role to play in the coming years in the for the global perspective. Which also leads me to another question. When we see what is written in our scriptures as well, like it is prescribed, it is written clearly that there are going to be 4 yogas. The yogas are cyclic. That this Kali Yoga specifically is going to have certain kind of energies at play, certain kind of people, certain attributes of people that will have more dominance. So it feels like it is known, right? It is also known that how the Kali Yoga is going to end, how it is going to begin. Is it also, so these are broader perspectives, are also the intricacies known, like these are going to be the people who are going to play an important role. These are the type of people who are going to disrupt and and is it also known the kind of action that we are going to take? Now this comes to the karma point. So how much of our action is predestined and how much is in our control, the concept of free will. There was this interesting quote by Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher. He said, man can do what he wills, but he can't will what he wills, as if it's all predestined. So please give us the Indian knowledge perspective of how do we look at free will and destiny?
Okay. Free will and destiny coexist in our life. It's like, I'll give you one example. There is a cow. You tied it with a rope and anchored it to a peg in the ground. Now, the cow can go around in a circle of radius equal to the length of the rope. Within that circle, the existence of the rope does not matter. It can freely move around within that circle. When it tries to go beyond the circle, it pulls it.
Right.
So our life is always like that. There is an area of operation where freely we can act, we can make choices. But when we try to go beyond that, our destiny will pull us.
Oh, wow.
So our life is actually a combination of free will and a certain thing which will pull us back, hold us back.
Is it not possible to break free of that rope?
That's called moksha.
Okay.
That is called mukti. Why am I tied to this rope? Why am I pegged here, anchored here? Why am I subjected to all these limitations? This is the quest. You see?
I see.
This is what the Vedic literatures are inspiring us to do. I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada gave this example. Britishers were ruling for nearly 200 years in our country, 200 plus years. They were making laws which were convenient for them, not thinking about our welfare. They made a law, you can grow cotton, you cannot convert cotton into a fabric. Cotton would get exported to Manchester. There are cotton mills. They will make cloth. They will bring it back here. Because cloth cannot be made here. There's a huge demand, huge population. They will sell it here and make profit and take it back. This became the rule.
Right.
So a lot of people, you have to be law-abiding when you are in the country. So people were following that. People had factories or looms and such things. They had to close down. It is illegal now. Please close it down. You can only grow cotton. You cannot convert cotton into a fabric. So people were following that. So it went on like that. Innumerable laws, not in our favor, but in their favor, they were making, and we were following all the laws. Because that's the law. Then a few people got together and started questioning. Why are they making the laws for us? Why can't we make laws for ourselves? Right? The idea of self-determination, doctrine of self-determination, of governance by self-determination. This idea came, that's how the Swaraj movement started. Before that, people thought, no, that's the law, you don't know. Please shut down your loom factory. And people were all following that. So in the same way, a kind of an ignorance sets in the society. This is the law. You are limited. This is what you should remain with. That's how we start thinking. So some amount of a shake-up is essential. No, we should ask the basic question, why these limitations exist? Why are all these things being imposed on me? I don't like these limitations. I want to be unlimitedly happy. But this world is not allowing me. My body does not allow me. So many things, limitations are imposed on me. So in the same way, this is the kind of a thinking that the Vedic culture brings and provides an understanding about the purpose of the universe, existence of the universe, existence of ourselves. In fact, the way how Krishna begins so beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. I was telling you about Prabhupada saying that we want to make everyone happy. We want to make you happy. If we want to make you happy, we should know who you are, isn't it? If I'm mistaking you to be your shirt, I'm only giving you some perfume for the shirt and different things for the shirt and not feeding you. We kept you here for 3 days. We invited you for 3 days for a retreat. Suppose we don't feed you, but we only give you nice shirts and nice garments and such things. You say, what Swamiji, what Prabhuji, when are you feeding us? We are hungry. In the same way, we must know this body itself is a garment for the soul. If I just take care of the garment and don't feed the soul, we will be hungry. So Krishna begins by saying, Arjuna is in distress. I want to help him out. I want to make him understand who he is, first of all, and what this world is. And then in this way, he gives a certain knowledge. And when he sees through the prism of that knowledge, Arjuna knows now what is my duty. I am clear, it's clear. Nashta moha smrutir laptva karishye vachanam tava. Now I'll do what you say, Krishna. All my moha is gone.
So we were here for 3 days. We were very well fed. And we were able to pray to the Lord in the most graceful way. Not all temples in our country are like this. Most are not in such a good shape. And I'm very happy that this temple is coming up. So now I want to understand, why are we building it so long? Why is this the tallest temple in the country? And why is it in this place only? What's special about this place?
This place is very, very special. In the entire Vedic knowledge, the position of Krishna, who Krishna is, what he did here in Vrindavan, what he did in Mathura, Vrindavan. This is very, very special. In the Bhagavad Gita, I'll just read one small portion of it. In the 15th chapter. 15th chapter is considered to be like a summarization of all Vedic knowledge.
Yes, I've heard that.
So, towards the end, Krishna says, it's a short chapter. It's only 20 verses. In the 19th verse, Krishna says, Yomam evam asam mudho janati purushottamam sasarva vid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. One who understands me to be the Purushottama, Uttama Purusha, Purusha Uttama, Purushottama. Without any doubt, Yomam evam asammudho janati Purushottama. Mam Purushottamam janati. How he knows? Asammudho janati, without a doubt, without any confusion, with perfect clarity. Who knows the position of Krishna? He, Saha, Sarvavit. He is the knower of everything. And such a person, Bhajati Mam, he worships me, he serves me. How? Officially, mechanically? No. Sarva bhavena bhajati mam. Sa sarvavit bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So, Krishna's true position, one who knows, he's the knower of everything. Because he is the one who has created this world. He has created all of us. And he has a certain purpose. And we have understood him and his purpose. And we are able to align with that. He is a knower of everything. And in the last verse of the next, which is the last verse of this chapter, next Krishna says, Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaka. This is the most confidential part of the entire Vedic literature. To know Krishna is the supreme person. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya. This I have disclosed to you, Arjuna. Etad buddha buddhiman syat. One who understands this becomes an enlightened, intelligent person. Buddhiman syat. Krita krityascha bharata. And all his activities have attained perfection. Wow. This is the position of Krishna. He's the thread who is holding everything. Why he is holding, he wants us to know. And that knowledge Krishna gave. And so this place is very special. And here we want this place to be known. Its importance to be heralded, proclaimed to the whole world. And in today's world, a place is known by monumental structures. When you think of Paris, what comes to your mind? Eiffel Tower. When you think of Dubai, what comes to your mind? Burj. So, in the same way, a place gets highlighted because of monumental, iconic buildings. This is modern language. This is modern vocabulary of modern people. So we want to use the modern vocabulary of modern people to tell them this is the most important place, right? And that's why we have a grand temple, we have a tall temple, and a beautiful temple for Krishna. I'll tell you one. We'll close with one anecdote from Prabhupada's life. I was telling you how Srila Prabhupada went to America at the age of 70. Till then, he was here in Vrindavan. He used to live here, not very far from here, in a small, simple, humble dwelling. So, the first 1 year when he went to America, it was a lot of struggle. He went to America because his guru had ordered him, you must take this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and spread this all over the world. His guru had ordered him to do that because 500 years before, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said, Bharata bhumile janma hoy, manishya janma hoyle yaar, janma sartaka kare karo paropakar. Whoever is born as a human being in India, he should perfect his life and help everyone else in the world to perfect their lives. This was a clarion call. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given 500 years back. This knowledge should not be just kept in India. There are genuine seekers all over the world. Everyone should get this knowledge. This was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy. And in his coming in his parampara, Prabhupada's guru had ordered him, you must take this knowledge all over. Because Prabhupada was educated in Scottish Church College in Calcutta, British India at that time. He was educated in English. So he saw in him, he has got tremendous bhakti, he has got tremendous Vedanta knowledge. He also has English education. He should go all over the world and take this knowledge and present it accurately like it is coming down for thousands and millions of years. And Prabhupada tried in different ways and he failed repeatedly for about 30 years. He left his home, he left his business, he had handed over to his grown-up sons. He came here and he started living like a mendicant. And then he took sannyas. And then at the age of 70, all his different attempts to publish a magazine, it failed. He tried to open an institution, it failed. After all such attempts, he said, okay, let me make one attempt towards the end of my life by trying to do this in America, spreading this awareness in America. And he didn't have money. He went in a cargo ship. He went to one woman, rich shipping company woman in Bombay. And he went and asked her, Madam, you have got so many ships. Can you allow me, send me in one of your ships to America? And so she asked, Swamiji, you're so old. At this age, you want to go and see America? He says, no, I don't want to go and see America for sightseeing. My guru had ordered me this and I have tried and I have failed. Now, one last attempt I want to make in America. So she gave him a free ticket to go in one of the cargo ships. So Prabhupada traveled in a cargo ship for 38 days. And when the ship was approaching the Mediterranean Sea, he had a heart attack. Oh, there was no doctor, there was no medical facility. A night later, he had a second heart attack. Wow. He survived 2 heart attacks at the age of 70. 38 days traveling in the ship and reaches New York City. And when he's about to get down, he was carrying with him 40 rupees. He realized that 40 rupees, you cannot convert rupees into dollar. Those days, it was non-convertible rupee. So he understands that I can't. Then he realized, I don't have a dollar or a dime. He goes to the captain of the ship and tells, Prabhupada came from a very good family. He was very respected in Vrindavan for his erudition, for his bhakti. And when he was doing his business, he was doing very well in his business. There was no want in their life. Now he's gone to America to follow his guru's order, to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, to spread the message of Krishna, penniless. He goes to the captain and he tells, I don't have a single dollar, I've come to America. And then he had written 3 books, Bhagavatam, 3 volumes. He said, can you buy these books? Wow. And give me some money. So the captain says, he's also moved to hear. He's been seeing Swamiji last 1 month in the ship. He says, Swamiji, yes. Tell me how much I should pay. That time Prabhupada is fixing the MRP for his book in dollars. He says, it's $15. Captain laughs and says, Swamiji, please take $20. He gives him $20. With $20 in his pocket, he gets off the ship. Wow. See the sacrifice and the determination that Srila Prabhupada had to take the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhakti, to the whole world. So anyway, to make the long story short, the first year was a lot of struggle. He was alone. So once in New York City, in a park, he was sitting on a park bench, and he had a japamala and he was chanting. So there was one American who came and sat next to him, and he looked at him. He saw an old man wearing orange dress. So he asked him, who are you? Why you have come? Some kind of a simple conversation. So in that conversation, Prabhupada asked him, when he is asked, why have you come? What have you come for? So Prabhupada asked him, is New York the most important city in the world? And that man, American, proud American, says, of course, New York is the most important city in the world. So Prabhupada said, I wanted to give the most important philosophy to people in the most important city in the world. This was the conviction of Srila Prabhupada. This is the most important philosophy Krishna has given. And this has to be given all over the world. Everyone should benefit from this knowledge. That is why we are building this temple. This temple is not just an edifice of cement, concrete, steel. It's an edifice for education, spiritual education. It is an edifice for propagating this, making this knowledge known to everyone in the world. And that's our aspiration.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This was a very enlightening session for me. I hope it was for you too. Now we have a broader perspective on how temples play an important role and how this temple is going to contribute to the cultural rejuvenation of our country and for the world as well. So if you want to visit this temple, this is open. It is under construction, but a lot of parts are open. You can visit it anytime. You can also contribute to making of this temple, because this contribution is going to go a long way for the whole country. Thank you so much.